Yo, what's good, people? How y'all doing out there? It's your boy Kelvin. We're behind the bench. Salute to everyone out there. Hope y'all well. Hope y'all blessed. Salute to the other gentlemen in the group, JB, Jermaine, Rashad. Check out their videos. Like, subscribe, and hope you enjoy. And let's get it going. All right, I want to speak about a throwback game, throwback classic game. Every now and then, I will drop some nuggets and my thoughts on a classic game that I go back and watch. Here behind the bench, what we're going to do, we're not going to disrespect the past. You know, we appreciate the legends of the past and what they brought to the table, and we appreciate what they did for the game. You know, in other sports, in baseball, NFL, they don't disrespect their legends, but for some reason in the NBA, these modern day fans and the modern day media, they disrespect the legends of the past and what they did. But here behind the bench, we're not gonna do that. We're gonna uplift them. We're gonna appreciate them. Appreciate what they brought to the table. So I want to talk about a game with Michael Jordan. It was a game he played on Mother's Day, 1989. It was Game 4, 1989 playoffs against the Knicks. It was in the conference semifinals. Uh, a little backdrop on how they got to this game. The 89 Bulls, despite what people want to tell you, the Bulls were an above average team. They were putting the pieces in place of what they would become, years later, a couple years later when they won the championship. But at this point, they were not a great team. At times they would play good, but for the most part, they were an above average team. They were a 6 seed going into the playoffs. They won 47 games. During the season, Michael Jordan actually played point guard off and on. There was a stretch during the playoffs, not in the playoffs, but during the regular season, where he played 10 out of 11 games. He played point guard. He had like a triple double, 10 out of 11 games. And I believe they won most of those games. So going into the playoffs off and on, Michael Jordan was still playing point guard because the Bulls really didn't have a true point guard. In the first round, they played the Cleveland Cavaliers. The Cleveland Cavaliers were a 3 seed. They had beat the Bulls every game during the regular season. And going into the playoffs, the Bulls were massive underdogs. And we know how that series ended up. The game 5 in Cleveland, Jordan hit the iconic shot to close that series out and a massive upset. And he knocked off the Cleveland Cavaliers. So in the second round, they're going against the Knicks. The Knicks were a young, up-and-coming team. They won 52 games. They were number 2 seed. And this team was really, really good. Really young, up-and-coming team. Was kind of loaded. They had Patrick Ewing, of course, Hall of Famer. Mark Jackson, who was an all-star this year. The previous year, he was Rookie of the Year. They had Charles Oakley, they got in a trade from the Bulls for Bill Cartwright. They had Johnny Newman, was a really good guard, wing defender. They had Gerald Wilkins, who was the brother of the legend Dominique Wilkins. They had Trent Tucker coming off the bench. He was a three-point sniper. They had Kiki Vandeweghe, who was a veteran, a little bit older at this point, but during the early 80s, he was known as a great scorer. I believe he made an all-star team a few times. He was a great scorer with, I believe, Portland. And they also had a young Rod Strickland. Rod Strickland, as we know, is the godfather of Kyrie Irving, and he was kind of a precursor to Kyrie Irving. He was a real underrated guard in the 90s with, real quick, had good handles, very deceptive, very underrated player. But the Knicks team was so good and so loaded that he was coming off the bench behind Mark Jackson. And then they also had Kenny Skywalker. Kenny Skywalker was an athletic forward. I believe he won a dunk contest that year or the year. I believe it was that year in '89 he won. So this Knicks team was really, really loaded. So the first two games, they split. The Bulls won the first one. Knicks won the second one. Game 3, going back to Chicago. Jordan put on a hell of a performance that game also. A classic 40-point game with 15 boards, 9 assists, 6 steals, and a rout. And during this game, game 3, in the second quarter, Michael Jordan got injured. He pulled his groin. But he was able to finish the game and put on a classic performance. So going into game 4, there was talk of whether Jordan was going to play or not because he was dealing with his groin injury. And unlike today, they played a back-to-back. They played a Saturday afternoon, and they was going into a Sunday afternoon on a game. They was playing a back-to-back, which is very rare, back-to-back playoff game. So Michael Jordan had to get treatment overnight, dealing with this groin injury and stuff like that. And the talk was whether Michael Jordan was going to play. So before the game start, they talked to Michael Jordan as he's coming to the arena. He said, "Yeah, I'm gonna play. I've been getting treatment, so I'm gonna play." So cool. So the game start. Michael Jordan come out. You can see early on in this game that he's real gimpy. He didn't have the explosiveness. So what he was doing was he was kind of being of a Swiss Army knife. He was picking his spots when he needed to score, when he needed to facilitate, whatever the team needed. He kind of eased his way into the game because the groin was sore. He didn't have the explosiveness. So early on, Bill Cartwright was carrying the scoring load. I believe he scored 13 points in the first quarter. And then in the first half, Michael Jordan did that through the whole first half. He was just kind of filling in where the team needed him. They needed him to score, he would score. He would hit his jump shots, he would post up. Defense, he needed to facilitate, he would do that. But the thing that was amazing to me about this game in the first half, really starting the second quarter, the Knicks was running a full court press. Their coach at the time was Rick Pitino. Now, Rick Pitino, he had a short stint in the NBA, but he was more known as a college coach. I believe he coached Providence, and then, of course, we know later on he coached Kentucky and Louisville. So he's bringing a lot of that college stuff, full court press. So the Bulls not having a point guard, Michael Jordan was handling the point guard duties. So he's dealing with this groin, and he's having to break this press with his ball handling skills, running the point guard. Despite what the media tells you nowadays about Michael Jordan, oh, he didn't have good handles, he couldn't do this, couldn't do that. That is a lie. So I'm watching this game and I'm seeing Michael Jordan break this press with his ball handling skills. And I was like, wow, okay. I knew he had played point guard, but to see him break this press was very impressive. While playing defense, while rebounding, while scoring when need be, getting fouled hard, going to the foul line, making his free throws. He was doing whatever the team needed for them to stay in the game. So this was a very tight game, very important game. And the game was going back and forth. So in the first half, Michael Jordan had like 18 points. Bill Cartwright had 19. So he had some help in the first half. So going into the second half and going into the third quarter, Michael Jordan, he started being more assertive because his teammates coming into the third quarter, you could see it. They was kind of hesitant. They wasn't attacking. They wasn't being aggressive. So Michael Jordan started being more aggressive in the third quarter as far as his scoring. He hit some jump shots. He got to the foul line. And also what was very telling was Michael Jordan's playmaking with his passing while running the point. The media will be telling these lies. Oh, Michael Jordan didn't pass. He couldn't pass. He was just a ball hog and shoot and all that type of stuff. That is a lie. Michael Jordan was very smart. He made the correct plays. He made some nice passes, get his teammates open looks and stuff like that. And while breaking this press, he was seen to always make the right play, the right pass. So in the third quarter, he kind of, was taking over the scoring, and the game was real close, going back and forth. And then the Bulls were up by 2 going into the fourth quarter. Then in the fourth quarter, Michael Jordan do what he always did. He took over. In the fourth quarter, he scored 18 points while facilitating, he set up his teammates. Now there were a few times where he had some turnovers, but he made up for it with the turnovers with big shots. Late in that fourth quarter, he hit 11 out of 13 points for the Bulls, and he made 2 or 3 critical shots down the stretch, for them to pull away and win. I remember one shot he made where he was dribbling with it on the left side, and he kind of hung in the air, and while he was hanging, he got fouled, and he shot it off the backboard, and it was just like, wow. It was an incredible shot he made, and overall, it was an incredible performance. He ended up with 47 points, 11 boards, 6 assists, 2 blocks, a steal, while playing with a hurt groin. He was doing it all. And when I'm watching this game, it just shows you the heart, the courage, and determination of Michael Jordan. And you appreciate the effort, and you see why Michael Jordan inspired so many people, and so why so many people wanted to be like Mike, and they looked up to him and stuff like that, because even at this point in his career, before he won a title, he was just incredible. And so this was one great performance. If you guys get a hold of this game, I suggest you watch it. I know there's some highlights on YouTube, and the NBA took a lot of the full games off, but there's people on YouTube and stuff like that that sell games. Get in contact with me. Maybe I can hook you up with the game or whatever, but get a hold of this game, watch it. It's an amazing performance. The most amazing thing is seeing Michael Jordan break that press over and over and over again with the ball handling skills while you're playing point guard. And he's injured. It's not like he's fully healthy. He's playing on the groin. You can see him at times on the game, he's limping with this groin. And it's an incredible performance, and y'all should check it out. Michael Jordan has a lot of classic performances, but this is one of his most underrated that a lot of people don't talk about. This was a great game. And a couple things that stood out. I know it's a little bit long video, but I'm finna get ready to get up out of here. A couple things that stood out. During the game, Dick Stockton and Huey Brown, they were talking about Michael Jordan. They were talking about the instability of the Bulls organization early on in Michael Jordan's career. And that don't get talked about. They said in Michael Jordan's first 5 years, he had 43 different teammates. Each year, the first 5 years, he had at least 3 new starting teammates, 3 new starters in the lineup. And he had 3 different head coaches. And see, that don't get talked about enough. They talk about, Michael Jordan got swept early. He didn't win early in the 80s and stuff like that. Well, it's because of the instability of the franchise. When he got drafted by the Bulls were truly at the bottom. And he had to work from the bottom to get to the top. And in 1989, he was going through the building process, But that showed the instability of the franchise. During that time when they drafted Scottie Pippen and Horace Grant, and they traded for Cartwright, they had John Pack, they was setting the foundation of what they will become a couple years down the line when they became champions. They was finally getting some stability, because they had a lot of instability the first 4 or 5 years of his career. And one more thing that stood out to me is they did an interview. They talked to Mike Singletary. Mike Singletary at the time was a linebacker for the Chicago Bears. Of course, he's a Hall of Famer in his own right, one of the greatest linebackers of all time. And Mike Singletary talked about how him watching Michael Jordan play inspired him to become great at his sport and to play better and do his job better at his sport. And we're talking about Michael Jordan. This is before he won a championship, and he was still fairly young in his career. I believe he was only 25 or 26 years old at this time. But that just shows you the greatness and the transcendentness of Michael Jordan. He transcended basketball, that he touched people's lives in other professions, whether it's sports or whatever. They had Walter Payton, he was at the game. But to hear Mike Singletary say that, who's a legend in his own right, that this young guy playing for the Bulls inspired him to be great in his sport, his profession, was very profound. And it just shows you the greatness of Michael Jordan. So, despite what people might say, these media nowadays, they try to take shots at Michael Jordan. Nah, man, Michael Jordan was different. Michael Jordan, to me, is by far the greatest player of all time. There's no debate for me. And to me, there's nobody even close. Well, that's just me. You can have your own opinion or whatever, whoever you think is the GOAT. That's your opinion. But for me, uh, it's not even close. And going back watching this game, one of his lesser known great classic games that he had, it just shows you the will, determination, and the courage to fight through the injury and do whatever it took to win. And he laid it all on the line for his teammates, and that was very, very impressive. And one more thing that I read when I was reading about this game and reading about this series, which the Bulls did end up going on to win this series in the upset. Rick Pitino, after this series was over, he said that Michael Jordan was the greatest player that ever put on a basketball uniform. Ever, to him. And this is 1989. He was like 26, 25 years old before he won any titles, for any championship, before the 6 for 6 and all that stuff. Before that, people was already saying he was the greatest player ever. I thought that was very telling. I was like, wow, that's pretty impressive, that even before he won any championship, he was just that great and just that transcendent. So I would highly suggest you go check out this game if you get a hold of it. It's an amazing game, amazing performance. And yeah, man, Michael Jordan's just different. He was a different guy. He was special. And this was a special performance, So I hope you get to check it out. I thoroughly enjoyed it. It took me back down memory lane. But that'll be it. I know this video has been long enough. My name is Kelvin. I'm with Behind the Bench. Salute to y'all out there. Y'all be blessed, be good, and I'll catch y'all on the next episode. Later.